I'm Deon.
So, Vaughn, where are you from originally?
Originally from Detroit. I moved to Southern California in 2010, and I had a long stint of a bunch of things. I played football there at school. I got into a really bad car accident. I found God. I found art. Now I'm here in Tacoma area.
So, when you were in Detroit, were you an artist yet, or is that something you found when you moved to California?
I had a ceramics club when I was in high school, and that's sort of where I got introduced to it. I was a jock though. I sort of played sports the whole time, and my brother's 11 months older than me, and we were sort of really competitive, and we wanted to be NFL players, but I think I needed another outlet. I was a super aggressive kid, so I think that's where the whole football thing started. Like, I was a fighter, so I would like fight kids. I just had like a lot of pent up aggression. And my parents put me in football because they're like, this dude is like, he has a lot of energy. He's always fighting somebody. Like, let's find a way for him to get this aggression out. I'm an extroverted introvert, so I need to be active and physical and doing things, but at the same time, I need to have time in my head. So I think early on, I learned that and started to cultivate like the idea and like understand how being in my own thoughts was helpful. I found art when I moved to California, and I found art when I went to jail. I got into a head-on collision. It was a DUI accident. I was drinking and I was super irresponsible. I was living a really crazy life, and I made a huge mistake, and that sort of turned me to art in an underlying way. Like I had to go to jail for like 6 months, and I remember being there, and I just remember wanting to be productive. And at that time though too, I had been interested in it. I progressed from ceramics to photography, and I wanted to be a photojournalist, so I carried a camera around with me, and I was really interested in photography and making images, and I got an opportunity to study that a little bit. And by the time I had to go to jail, I had like a little bit of knowledge of photography, but I wanted to push it a little further, and I couldn't have a camera in jail. So basically, I started drawing pictures every day. In jail, they put you, it's sort of a racial thing, right? So like whites go with Mexicans or whites, and blacks go with blacks. So, but I would hang out with the Mexicans because I'm just sort of like a diplomatic dude. They would make these amazing letters. They would write these amazing letters to their families, and they would draw these incredible pictures, and they would take images from magazines, and they would make tracing paper, and they would trace the images, and it would be like crazy flowers or crazy faces, and it would have this really long letters. So hanging out with them, I started sort of tracing like they were tracing, and then that led me to like wanting to draw more. Making things for me is just, it's what I do. So if I wasn't selling paintings, or if I wasn't even showing paintings, I would still make them. I lived in LA for almost 12 years, and I think over the time I got closer to the fine art and the art culture. Not only are people producing things really quickly and at the highest quality you'll ever see, there's 10 of those people for every one person. It just made me decide to go as fast as I could. Like, decide what I want to do and continue going. The culture is just fast, it's competitive, and it's also very inspiring because you can sort of see how inspiring other artists are. You can see what place they're creating from, and you can also see sort of how polished they are, or lack thereof. You know, I think some artists are so good that they're just not polished, but it works.
So, what place do you paint from when you're making art?
I'm an empath. I feel everything, and I think that makes sense about my childhood. Is like I was fighting people all the time because I was feeling so many emotions, right? And I think I'm still that way, but I handle them in a way more mature way. I don't lash out or scream or just cry or, you know, have a tantrum. So anytime I'm creating, I'm just creating from what I feel at the moment.
Break down these paintings behind you.
I paint them live with a chat, and I take feedback, and I just sort of have conversations with people as I build them. Boyy is kind of like me, right? It's all about the emotions and being emotional, and that's why I create paintings. Boyy is actually really short for don't be afraid to cry, boy. Don't be afraid to cry, boy. Because I think when I was young, that's what was taught. You know, I grew up an athlete. I grew up playing football, and I grew up in Detroit. And then the environment is that of, it's just a masculine environment. It can be. And I was just always told to not cry. I was the youngest of three, and I was the baby, and I would cry. I was just an emotional kid. So I think it sort of points back to that. It's just understanding that, like, when you don't allow yourself to feel your emotions, it turns into something else, and it's gonna come out. And if you need to cry, go ahead and cry. This is called Mad Capper. This is just a participation piece. So I was painting it, and both of these are oil paintings, by the way. I painted them in oil pastel, and I'm just taking suggestions from the chat. I think every experience is I'm trying to pull. I'm trying to bring people into my world, and I'm trying to also put my world on the people. So that's what Mad Capper is about. The chat named it. That painting doesn't really mean anything. It's just a painting. And I think I learned that along the way too, is that, like, sometimes your painting is just a painting. Not every painting is a testament to your life or a story.
So can you explain Flower? That's part of your brand, right?
Flower Boy is all about growth and transformation, spiritual, physical, mental. It's about my transformation from someone who was really emotional and really broken in this way and was leaning on alcohol, to someone who decided to leave that and to find a cleaner way to live, find a more productive way to live. It's about continuing to transform. It's about understanding that there's so many steps in between transformation, and as I make paintings, they will change, and there will be a beginning phase, a middle phase, and an end phase. And with the Flower Boy, I like to preach that, and I like to connect with people and, you know, try to open that door, because transformation's scary. I want to open that door to just invite everyone into transformation, whatever that looks like. Not everyone is an alcoholic or an addict or suffering from something, but there are people that are in jobs and they want to be in a creative field, and they are trying to figure out, how do I get out of this to that? Because I feel dependent on this job. I feel dependent on this thing. I chose flower because a flower has many seasons, right? And a flower is constantly dying and coming back again. We all go through seasons, we go through phases, and things happen in our life, and we sometimes have to die to our old self and come back new. And that just continuously happens if we're aware and open to it.
So the next part of your journey has landed you here in Seattle.
Yeah.
What are your goals now that you're here in Seattle?
I want to learn about Seattle. I want to learn about the culture. I want to learn about the artists in the city, and I want that to become a part of my journey. And so I think that just entails me being open to the people around me, open to opportunities, open to the flow of life here, and open to how people live and operate. You can find me, Instagram is my #1 platform. I have TikTok as well, I have YouTube, but Instagram is my #1. I'm releasing a lot of art on there. I do a sketch a day, and I have a little anecdote about my life. It's The Flower Boy, at The Flower Boy with 2 Y's. And my website is the same, theflowerboy.com. If you go to those platforms, you'll find that I have links all over there. I have YouTube links and TikTok links, and I cannot wait to get connected with Seattle. I love the city already. I'm energized by it, and I just can't wait to see what I make and how I grow here.